You know, there's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to Bod's Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. The Bodfather.
Man, this stuff rocks.
Hey, this is Oren from OHP, and you're listening to Bod's Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Bod's Mayhem Hour, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to Bod's Mayhem Hour.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bod's Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bodfather, and as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today, it's an honor and a huge privilege to welcome musician Oren Hellman of OHP. Oren has released his metal covers of the Weeknd single "Blinding Lights," Starship's classic "We Built This City," and Ava Max 2018 debut hit single "Sweet But Psycho." And today I saw a new cover of Bryan Adams' hit classic "Heaven." Oren is endorsed by Vader drumsticks, Dean Markley guitar strings, and Moody guitar straps. So, Oren, welcome to the podcast. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me, John. It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, no problem. So you started your musical endeavor at the young age of 9 in Tel Aviv, Israel. So after playing and recording with numerous artists in your hometown, you relocated to California in early 2000. What was your expectations making the move to the U.S., and how has the transition been since moving and having a career in music now?
Well, you know, L.A., California, everybody comes here hoping to be either a rock star or a famous movie star, you know, one of the two. It's a great dream, and it very rarely happens.
Yeah.
So I actually moved here with a band. You know, it was a project that was in development for probably around 3 years. Mm-hmm. It disintegrated within a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, we got to LA after 3 years of work, tons of, you know, performances, a lot of experience, and within a week it was gone. So it was pretty much a huge shock. But I liked it. I mean, I love the States. I've always liked the American culture. You know, a lot of people don't know this, but Israel is basically a very small version of the US. So, you know, a lot of music, I grew up listening to metal. Metallica was my band, basically, growing up. And I saw them play shows there before I moved here. So I stayed and kind of integrated myself more as a session player, a drummer. I was mainly a drummer back then. Well, not mainly, I was just a drummer back then. And, you know, just started playing with local bands, touring. I did the Warped Tour. Good times, you know. I really like it here, obviously.
How frustrating was it, though, to make that move and be here a week and it just all blows up? I mean, you had to be pissed. Like, this can't be happening.
It's unfathomable. It's like, even thinking back at it, the frustration is just intense. And, you know, there's no way to describe. It's like basically a marriage falling apart.
Sure. Yeah.
Between 5 people, you know, and you know what? I can tell you now, in hindsight, that band would have never made it.
Yeah.
So
sure. Yeah.
it's all good. I mean, I have no complaints. I'm happy. You know, it just put me on a different path, right? You know, we can choose to look at the negative or the positive, and don't get me wrong, I'm not the uppity, super positive kind of guy, but in this case, it actually ended up, after all the turmoil happened, the best way it could have.
You know, it's like that old saying, some things are just meant to be, man. Things happen for reasons, and look what you're doing now. So
100%. You know, I'm the only one out of that. Well, there are 2 of us, but basically 2 of us are only 2 that are still and only making our living off of music. So it was obviously not meant to be for the majority of them.
What was your reaction when you first heard Metallica, or just your first metal song in general, man? What was going through your mind when you first heard it? Did it blow you away, or did you have to like go back and keep listening?
So, ironically, my first metal album and if I'm not mistaken, also song was Injustice for All, and You're Wearing That Shirt.
Exactly.
So that was 100% my first metal album that I bought. And, it was like an eye opener for me. And it was like, okay, so this is what music is. It's like welcome home, right? All of a sudden it's like, okay, this is what I like. This is what I like to do. And this is what I like to listen to. And, I was dabbling with drums prior to that, as starting at 9, but it wasn't that direction, but around, I'm going to say probably 13 is when I really got into it. And from there on, it's a bug and it's stuck and I love it. For me, metal is a community. It's obviously it's music, but more than anything, it really is a community, and you make lifelong friends, either if it's bands that you meet or fans or just people in general that like the genre are just most of the time just good people. It's a great community to be part of.
Yes, sir. That's exactly right. And that's exactly how I feel about it. We're all friends in this community. We all help each other out. So I love it. Wouldn't change it for the world. That's for sure. So I got to talk to you about this. When you got these 4 covers that are out now, and you gave your own little twist to them. What was it about doing these covers? Because with you loving metal and stuff, I figured you'd be wanting to do your own band again. Or did that kind of like shy you away from what happened previously and just go this route?
Well, no, that did not, put me off. But remember when I just came here, I was not just, but I was a drummer, right? So drummers have a very important part in the band. It's the backbone, it's the foundation. But that was my only part in the band, creatively speaking. And after that, it evolved a little bit away from metal, more into the heavier alternative.
Mm-hmm.
Say it that way. That was the Warped Tour, and that was more of an alternative situation. Hence, not Ozfest, but Warped.
Yeah.
So that's what that was. But coming into my own, so these covers, I basically release a cover every week. So there's a new cover every Thursday. And, I like all styles of music because I don't only work in metal as a musician. I work in all genres just because, to make a living, you kind of have to diversify in music. And I love it. Don't get me wrong. My home base is and always will be metal and heavy music. That's what I like. I enjoy the output, the aggression, the emotions that comes out of that music, but I do work in all the other fields as well. So, pop is manufactured to be catchy. I mean, quite literally, the most important thing in that music is the hook, right? And it hooks you. I mean, that's like the point of it. So what I was thinking, and this is something I dabbled with an extremely long time ago before I even started this, is like, well, I like this song. It's just not how I would like to hear it, right? If it's, I don't know, Hit Me Baby One More Time, for example. That's one of the first songs I did. And I'm like, there's a great riff here, but I don't like the tonality of it. So I'm like, what can I do? How can I make this mine in a way, right? And it kind of ended up being an interesting situation because my covers, they're metal covers, but I think they're falling more into the hard rock genre than metal. And I don't go into the extreme with it. So it kind of goes straight in the middle, meaning that the heavy community, the metal lovers, the heavier music lovers, they can enjoy the metal cover, even though it's a Britney song, just because it's not a Britney song anymore, right? It's heavy, it's riffing, there's a lot of double bass, there's growling, there's a lot of things. It's a catchy song and they can enjoy it. While it's at the same time that people like the original, it's not too heavy for them to enjoy it. So it kind of goes straight in the middle and it gives it my own flair. Now, for original music, yeah, I dabble with it a little bit, but I really enjoy, it's like an eye-opener in a way to the people that are not into heavy music, that they can enjoy heavy music, even though they thought they couldn't enjoy heavy music. So, I wouldn't say it's a calling per se, because that's talking too big, but it's really interesting to see people who like Britney all of a sudden enjoy this song that it's all distortions and all guitars.
Did you want to stay traditionally to the songs that you cover, or do you like adding that twist of what you can do with it besides just being that same, oh, well, they should just left it alone. You know what I mean? Just do it straight on out, just the way the song is, but adding your own twist to it. Is that what you like to do, to see what you can do with it?
Well, see, thing is, when I started it, even now, I'm staying very true to the original in a lot of ways, meaning I stay in the same tempo. I stay in 95% of the time the same structure of the song. So it's like you're looking at the song, which is basically exactly the same as it is originally, but it's a completely different song. So that, for me, that's the twist. I don't really want to mess with it in the way of structure. So and tempo and things like that, because it's easy to make it faster or slower, to give it a different variation. But for me, I really want people to be like, to know exactly what's going to happen next in that song, meaning they know the original and it's the same thing, but why is it completely different? It's kind of a mind twister in a way, right? That it gives you a completely different vibe. And I keep all the original hooks if it's lead guitars, or, what I do is I take, if it's a synthesizer in the original, it's always going to be a lead guitar usually. So, and it's like taking organic instruments in a way and taking the lifeless part of the pop out of it and give it much more emotion, at least to the music, because the vocals are vocals, right? They sing the original songs, but the music there, it's much more fabricated. It's not as organic, definitely not as heavy metal music.
You also directed these videos. Do you like having that control of directing them yourself?
So this is a one-man operation. From the first second I start a rough draft till the final editing of the video, including the shooting and everything. I've been releasing a lot of live footage because I also have a backing band that I do this live with. They're all great local musicians here in LA. That's the only time I'm not involved in actually the shooting. The video aspect, there's definitely a learning curve there because I'm a sound engineer also in profession and I have a studio. So that I'm very comfortable in. The whole video aspect of it was completely new when I started it. So there's definitely a learning curve there, and it's a different animal. It's just, I don't know if I do enjoy it in a way, but I will tell you that being on both sides of the camera makes the video shoot much more frustrating and longer than it could and should be. But, as an independent artist with really no budget, you just have to do what you have to do. And, it's good that we can do it nowadays because before we couldn't. We have the tools now to do it and we can do it. Whereas when I was starting, there's no way. I mean, what we're doing right now wasn't even a possibility.
No.
Oh.
No. So back in the day, it used to be phoners. That's it. There was no videos unless it was on site, in person.
No, there was no streaming.
And I dig this actually, I dig the video, but I don't care to do a phoner. That don't bother me one bit, but video wise, I dig it. It's frustrating for YouTube because, I need to get some more subscribers for YouTube.
YouTube is it's a completely different animal, right?
It is.
I started the channel, I think about 5 years ago, and it was growing really fast. It went up to 10,000 subscribers pretty fast. All grassroots. I never pay for plays. I just don't believe in it. It doesn't make sense to me. I'd rather have 10 real plays on a video than a million fake ones. For me, it serves no purpose.
Exactly.
But the YouTube thing changes, right? So I had those 10,000 subscribers, and then I took about a 2-year break, and because life,
right.
Things happen, and I was mainly, to be honest, working on my vocals because I was not happy with the vocals when I started. And I was working on that for about 2 years. And coming back, YouTube changed in the sense that before, all the subscribers, every time I released a cover or anything on YouTube, they would immediately get a notification and I would get a lot of plays. Now YouTube changed to the fact that if you don't hit that little bell for notifications, you're going to get nothing.
Yep.
So those 10,000 subscribers essentially are gone. So I relaunched, I think about 6 months ago, and I literally started from scratch. So,
wow.
But it's fine. You know, if I wasn't enjoying it, I wouldn't do it.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It has to be a work of passion, or it's just not. I mean, this is what I do.
Yeah. I seen yesterday where you had like 1.82 thousand views on the 12th. That was yesterday. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, that's amazing.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, you know, what I'm doing, it's literally more an entertainment piece,
yep.
right? It's like, and it's great. I'm so happy, you know, that people are enjoying it. It's just fun. It's obviously I have fun doing it. And there, for me, there's no better feeling than hearing a final mix, or vice versa, seeing the final video edit of something. And because it takes 5 days approximately from the second I start till I'm done with a video. 4 to 5, depending on how extreme I work on it. So, you know, it essentially, it's like releasing an original single every week.
Right.
So it's just the only thing I skipped, which not only, it's a big thing, is the writing process. But the producing, recording, mixing, and video is exactly the same as any other band or artist that goes in to record their song, just time-wise,
sure,
production-wise.
I gotta know.
The writing, anyways, beforehand.
I gotta know, man. Out of all these covers that you've done, what's been your favorite one so far? Or can you pick one?
So I probably have around 140 covers out now. You know, it's interesting. I love all of them, but one that sticks out, I did Uptown Funk by Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
And I did that in 2 versions. The original version, I love it, but it was still when the vocals weren't exactly where I wanted them. But now, about, I'm going to say 6 months ago, I did a full show with the band, and it just came out killer. That song just came out great. And that version hasn't been released, probably will be released next month, because I have a couple of the live versions still, you know, in the vault for later. But yeah, I think Uptown Funk would be one of my favorites. And there's a few that haven't come out yet, because I'm not gonna lie, I have a couple of stockpiles here that are really, really strong. But you know, it's hard because when you do something new, it's always your favorite.
Sure.
It's kind of, you're twisting your brain in a way, and you're like, oh man, this is the best work I've ever done. Next week, you're gonna say the same thing.
So what was the hardest one that you did that you didn't think you were going to get, but you finally got it? You finally got to fit what you wanted to do with it?
You know, Stevie Wonder, that was an interesting one. You know, the older songs are usually harder, and not knocking any of the new songs, but, you know, there's a 4-chord pattern with the new music that the song is basically 4 chords on repeat. So it kind of takes a little bit of the challenge out of it, just musicality wise, whilst the older songs, if it's Motown or you know, because I don't stick naturally to pop. I also do the other way around. I took The Unforgiven by Metallica and did it acoustic.
Oh, nice.
With a violin player doing the solo.
Oh, sweet.
So that's another thing that I enjoy. I take songs that I really like. I also do the Tout Le Monde by Megadeth acoustic. So it's like I take songs that I really like, that are heavy, and give them the opposite spin on it. There's another one of those that's supposed to come out soon. It's just, I think those are the harder ones, to be honest, because it's an interesting animal that's doing this. Say those.
What about the pandemic, man? Did the pandemic help you get more, I don't know, seat time as a session musician, or did it help you allow you to do more of your videos that you do?
So the pandemic for me, most of my day job per se is live shows. I do a lot of live shows, a lot of events out here in LA or around the country, depending on where it is, for flight dates and things like that. So that came to a screeching halt, obviously, when that pandemic hit. And, all props to the government. We got, even though we're self-employed, we got unemployment for that time, which was really a breath of fresh air for us self-employed people. So for me, in the sense, it kind of freed up my time to do what I wanted to do and couldn't do because I was too busy before. And now, when we're back now, it's everybody's making up for all the time that it was gone. Everybody wants live music now, which is a blessing, obviously. We didn't really know how it's going to come back after it. Mm-hmm. But see, I actually was doing the covers before the pandemic and then stopped when it started. And that's when I put the real push on my vocals. And that's when I had the opportunity to do the live show, right? Because I was out of work. All my friends that are musicians are out of work. The production companies are out of work, the lighting, the sound. I literally had all the people I work with available to do things for me at a fraction of the cost or for free, because they were also sitting at home. So like, okay, yeah, sure, let's do a video shoot. It was a great situation in that way. And that's, for me, it's the same thing, right? I look at a bad situation and try to make the best out of it. And in that sense, the pandemic for me just freed the time to do this right rather than, and towards the end of it, not that we're completely out, but when it started reopening, I got back into the swing of things. I think it's about 6 months now. And I'll tell you what, the reception on the second time is much better right now. And with good reason. I know, being in this industry, I know when my product is lacking, and it's not that it was bad before, it was just not where I wanted it to be. And now it is where I wanted it to be. And it is getting the same acceptance of what I was hoping it will.
Are you wanting to eventually do your own music and put out an album or an EP possibly down the road? Is that something in your back pocket that you're wanting to do eventually?
So 100%.
Okay.
My ultimate goal is this, right? I'm building an audience right now. And, with the world, because we can do this right now, and because of YouTube and Spotify and all those things, the world is saturated with music. I don't know. There's some kind of a crazy statistic that there's like 100,000 singles released every minute or something like that, something insane. Because, technology put us in a situation that everybody can record. And the release is really simple. You have no issue releasing it. All you need to do is get on a sound drop or one of those situations, and you're releasing to like 20 online stores, including Spotify and iTunes, or Apple Music, actually, no more iTunes. But things change so fast, it's hard to keep up sometimes.
That's true.
So I feel this medium, or what I'm doing right now, is building an audience that likes the style of music that I do, right? Because even though these are pop songs, stylistically, it's heavier, right? It's heavy, it's hard rock. Yeah. It's in the vein of, let's say, some of it is very Disturbed-like, because that's one of my favorite bands, just stylistically. I am a fan of nu metal, and which is very groove-oriented. So the way I see it is, when I have the audience and I have the song that I want to release, it's basically some place to release and have people enjoy. That's because I have a lot of friends who are doing original music, and they're really struggling to just get it out there, and they're doing very good music.
Wow.
So, and it's just because it's so oversaturated,
That's true.
having a built-in audience is a great situation to be in. And I definitely plan on releasing original music. It's just, I feel like it needs to be the right time. It has to be the right timing and the right place to do it.
What's the growth musically, though, you've seen from yourself working on these covers or just your music in general? What do you see that keeps progressing, or you like that keeps progressing or getting better musically?
Honestly, every time I record, I feel like I'm getting better. Just in the sense of, when you play live, you're masking a lot of mistakes. Because, you go and that's it. And you're done and it's gone. When you're in the studio, you're under a magnifying glass.
Sure.
So and what you're doing is being released. It's going to be out there for people to hear until you either pull it out. And even if you do, sometimes it just gets stuck somewhere. Somebody downloads, it's going to be out there. So I think 10 times before I finish a song, is this going to be good enough that in 20 years I hear it, I'll be like, oh man, this is not what I wanted to do. So don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things out there that I did with the covers. Again, it's like 130, 140 songs that, I don't feel bad about anything. But 100% my vocals have gone up. I can't even tell you how much. And my guitar playing, those two things constantly progress. My drumming, I'm a session drummer. So that's what I do. That's where it is. And, I'm going to tell you the new musicians, the new generation, I don't even understand how they get to be technically so good. I mean, I feel like there's something in the water. I mean, there's just so good. And you see on YouTube, ridiculous drummers, especially in metal. I mean, what they can do nowadays is crazy. And you know what? I don't even aspire to get to that because, I came up listening to Metallica and Megadeth and Disturbed and Sepultura. Those are the old school bands that I like, and that's what I enjoy. And I'll give the kids the new, all the crazy technicality. For me, it's the guitar playing and the vocals that are literally progressing every time I do a song, just because I put more effort on listening to every little detail and making sure it's as perfect as I can get it right now.
You're so right, man. I've seen so many kids put videos up, and I'm talking about like 8, 9-year-old kids, and they are absolutely burning up a guitar or a bass or drums. I'm like you, where did this come from? I mean, my God.
I heard John Petrucci say something once. I hope I'm quoting him correctly. Is that, when he was growing up, or even when I was growing up, I'm the next generation. You didn't have tutorials, right? No. So you would have to listen and to figure it out. That's just what it is. So the process of learning a song was not just technically learning a song. You also had to progress musically constantly. You had to get your hearing better, figure out what you're doing. Nowadays, all you need to do, now don't get me wrong, it's not easy, but it's a different process. All you have to do is go online, see a tutorial. How do I play this song? And somebody shows you how to play the song very slowly. And you just need to sit there and practice hours. I mean, they practice for hours. I mean, they're working really hard at it. But I feel, and that's also what, if I'm not mistaken, that's what he said exactly, is that they're lacking the musicianship, but they have the crazy technicality. Just because they're literally shown how to do it rather than learning and progressing themselves and trying to figure out by hearing what it is. And they're also not playing as much together as we were as kids, They're sitting at home alone in front of the computer, shredding, but crazy shredding.
Yeah, it's not like when we were younger, go to your buddy's house, learn how to play guitar and stuff. I mean, that still happens today, but not as much as it used to when we were younger. It's like, hey, let's get together, bro, and jam and stuff like that. And now it's very seldom. And you're right. People are home, stuck right in front of a computer. It's crazy because I loved watching cartoons when I was a kid. I didn't want nothing to do with the computer.
No, when I was a kid, we were outside.
Yeah.
We were running around. Shows. It was just before shows, just as teenagers. I mean, I was outside most of the time. I didn't want to be inside.
Or I know you had a lot of music when you were growing up to listen to, and I know you still have that today, but do you still have a go-to album or maybe a song that you find yourself going back to and listening to all the time? You just cannot kick it out. I mean, you've got to listen to at least once a week, once a month, but you find yourself going back to it.
It's kind of sad to say, but I don't really listen to music as much anymore, just because literally from the moment I wake up till I go to sleep, that's all I do.
Yeah.
Every day, 7 days a week. Just to give you an example, I had 3 shows on Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, wow.
So I worked from 10 a.m. till 2 a.m. on Saturday. And yesterday I finished the show at like 10:30 p.m. So when I get into the car after that, I literally want to hear silence.
Sure.
But having said that, I do go back to Scenes of a Memory by Dream Theater, which is my favorite concept album. And I mean, the Black Album for me is a staple. I know a lot of people started hating Metallica during the Black Album, all the hardcore thrashers. But for me, even back then, I was a huge fan of production and sound, and that album just did something new. I mean,
and you know what though, man, they knew where times were changing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't blame for that. I love that album. I think it's great.
I mean, every single song on there is great. I mean, again, probably my favorite is still Injustice for All. But, I feel bad for Newsted, and I'm missing the bass.
Yeah.
I'm missing the bass.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think Headfoot was saying we're not going to remix it because that's a staple of time, and you don't mess with history. And I actually agree with that. But, if that song, that album had a little bit more bass.
More cowbell, a little bit more bass, a little bit more bass. And Jason was pissed because he's even said it in interviews. He's like, I was livid. I was pissed.
He was pissed. I know.
Yeah.
It was, and this is the first time I saw them. First time I saw them was on the Black Tour. I was, I don't remember how old I was. I think I was 14. It's literally, it's God was, has shown himself in front of me. I think it was 50,000 or 40,000 people.
Good Lord.
40,000 in Tel Aviv. And it's funny. Again, not talking shit, but so back then it was Guns N' Roses and Metallica, right?
Yep.
Those were those bands ruled the world.
Yep.
And it was Use Your Illusion, 1 and 2, and the Black Album. So a month prior to Metallica coming to Israel, Guns came to Israel. And that was like the heyday of them being drugs and alcohol. And so my first major show was Guns. And I don't know if you know, back then, Bryan Adams was their opening act on tour.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, his solo show was the opening act, and it was amazing. And then Guns came and they were horrible. And I liked them right back then, but they were a band that I liked, but not my favorite. It was in the middle of the set, they brought out couches and did a random acoustic thing, and you're a 14-year-old angry kid, give me the distortion. Come on, where's the angry, dangerous band? And then a month later, Metallica came in, killed.
Oh yeah, destroyed them.
They destroyed it. It was so crazy that even in the newspaper, the newspaper in Israel, they had an article saying Metallica came and showed us how it's done.
Yep. And I'll say this right now. I'm like you. I was a huge Guns N' Roses fan. I still am today. But Appetite for Destruction was a staple of their music. That was it. I mean, the rest of the albums, I like them, but not as much as Appetite. If they stay true to their sound like Appetite, we'd be talking about Metallica and Guns N' Roses, the two biggest bands still this day. You know,
Appetite broke the barriers.
Oh yeah,
that was like, it's the same concept as when Metallica went to the Black Album.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same ground shattering. You know what's funny though? Pre-pandemic, I don't remember exact. I think it was 2018. Don't quote me on that one. Is the two biggest selling tours? I think were Metallica and Guns.
Wow.
If I'm not mistaken, it was Guns because they just reunited with Slash and Duff. And I remember Metallica was, well, not tours, grossing bands, because Metallica don't really tour extensively. But it's so funny. It's like we're back in the 90s. Even if you look now, look who's the main. Limp Bizkit is touring and Korn.
Yeah.
Well, Korn never stopped, but Limp Bizkit is back. It's weird. I saw Ugly Kid Joe are playing a show, which is a name I haven't literally heard for a few decades.
It's like the old saying, man, and I didn't want to believe this, but it's God's honest truth. The metal door, rock door, it just keeps revolving, and it just keeps coming back around and around and around again. So,
100%.
You know, so that's truth. Oren, how can folks stay in touch with you, keep up with all your stuff that you're doing, your live sessions, if you teach any of this online or anything? How can they do that, sir?
So the best place to follow would be on YouTube. And it's just basically if you YouTube OHP metal, that's me. That's the fastest way to find. It's on Instagram and Facebook and all those. But to be honest, the majority of it is on YouTube. All the links are there. I just want people to come and enjoy the music, right? That's what it's all about, and it seems like it's working and people are enjoying it.
I will have all the links posted in this interview, so that way people can go and follow you, man. And I'll make sure I share all this stuff to all my socials and everything too for you.
Awesome.
Before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Of course. Hey, this is Oren from OHP, and you're listening to Bod's Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on Bod's Mayhem Hour. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link and our YouTube link, and please get out and drop me a subscribe link on that YouTube link and hit the little bell too, so that way you'll get everything that comes down the pipe. And we got a lot of great stuff coming up for Bod's Mayhem Hour. Also check out Orange stuff. He does awesome covers. We Built This City. Let's see what else he does. Sweet But Psycho. Bryan Adams hit Classic Heaven. He just did, like he said, the Metallica's Unforgiven. He does his own twist with all this stuff, and I appreciate that when somebody can do their own thing but still stay traditional to the song. So that's awesome. So, and I'm also affiliated with Forma Obscura, Metal Inc., and also Diary of the Madman, the Ultimate Ozzy Osbourne podcast. So check that out also. So, Oren, I wish you nothing but the best of luck, my friend, and you're welcome on here anytime you want.
Awesome, John. Thank you very much for having me.
You're listening to Bod's Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.